You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 126 of Teach Better Talk. I'm Ray Hewert, and as always, I'm with my Coolio friend, Jeff Gargis.
Coolio, I like that.
Coolio. You know, we have Adam on the podcast today, which I know you guys will hear about in a little bit. And he has a cool picture on his Twitter account, so I kind of just went with cool as your descriptor as well, because, you know, you're on our podcast too.
I enjoy the Coolio. That's good. I like that. That's a good spin there.
I feel like it's like back to my middle school days. I feel like Coolio was a cool word to use back then.
Yeah. At some point, it was. He was also a pretty popular rapper at some point in the past as well.
Oh, don't get all technical. I thought I made up the word. You're telling me there's someone cool
you
out there
remember
that's named
Coolio?
Cool?
He had Gangsta's Paradise and
okay, we've entered
a few
into
others
it.
that I can't remember right this.
I don't like how this conversation.
Fantastic Voyage. Oh, come on. When I was in high school, Coolio was he was like a rapper R&B guy that had some hits, man.
You know, in this
Dangerous Minds, the movie.
In this episode, Adam gives a shout out to Space Jam, and I was going to interrupt him and be like, "Hey, Jeff, will you put some Space Jam in here?" Now I'm taking all of that idea away. I want you to play Coolio in this podcast.
I'll have to try to find a license in for that.
Oh,
he does reference Space Jam, which was awesome too.
No one's going to tell if you play a little Coolio.
Well, we'll see. Maybe I'll fit it in there something.
There we go.
So I wanted to, if you don't mind, Ray, I want to throw something at you. You know, we were talking beforehand. This episode, which is a great episode, coming out is on December 5th. So at this time, now obviously we record our episodes a little bit ahead of time, but on the day that this episode comes out, so that it's hitting everyone's ears, you're going to be at an event speaking.
I am.
With our good. What's that?
I said I am. I'm like super stoked for that.
Yeah, you can be with our good friends at the Ames Network, which we love doing. Well, anytime we get a chance to hang out with them, you obviously do a lot of work with them as well. Do you mind sharing what you're going to be talking about, like what it is? I think it's a cool topic that we obviously love to talk about. I'd love to hear just sort of what you got planned for that crew.
Yeah, it's kind of like cheating because they're asking me to come in and speak, but it's, you know, about a topic that's so easy because I'm speaking about the Teach Better mindset. So for those who don't know, I'm on the board for the Ames Network, and Ames is dedicated to Illinois education, specifically within that middle grades realm. And so they're trying to create, you know, the network between the teachers, the principals, the superintendents, everyone in between in that entire school ecosystem to keep people connected so they can continue to learn from each other. And when I got involved in the board, I had no idea the amazing connections I would make just as a little old teacher in Central Illinois. But when they asked me to speak and keynote their event this December, I was so excited because their Network Institute is an awesome event. They bring in all these different Illinois middle grade teachers to talk shop and share about what they're doing in their classroom. And so I thought it was the perfect fit to kind of start off that event to kind of kick it off with getting our mindset in the right space. You know, there's a lot of people that can head to a conference and maybe not carry the right mindset to get as much out of it as possible. So to be able to start the event off and kind of share about this idea of growth and pursuing better, I think it's going to be really fun. Jeff, I know we do a lot of work with the Teach Better mindset. If you had to kind of summarize that mindset up in 2 sentences, how would you describe the Teach Better mindset?
Be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you were today. It's pretty simple, really.
Should I only say that? I think they're giving me 45 minutes.
You should walk up and just say that and then drop the mic.
Yeah, that won't be weird.
Yes. No, I think those are the 2 easiest ways to sum it up. But I think the most important piece, or the piece that I like to focus on with that, is that it's not about being perfect. It's not about you're not good yet. It's just about constantly trying to be better. And I actually think, Ray, that really ties into a lot of what we talked about with Adam in this episode. He really talked about just sort of his mindset of continuously looking for ways to make his lessons better, to grow better relationships, to work better with his colleagues, and to just be better. So I really think he encompasses that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the more we can focus the conversation on our own individualized pursuit of better, the more effective we're going to be. You know, sometimes we get feedback, oh, teach better. It's like we're not teaching good enough. And it's like, no, you're not comparing yourself to the person down the hall or the person that you follow on social media. We're all in our we're all in our own spaces, and, you know, acknowledging where we're coming from and how we want to grow in the future make us better, and it makes our students better, and that we can model that growth process. You know, no one's perfect. Geez, for sure, Jeff Gargas isn't perfect, people. Nobody's perfect. But this idea that teachers need to be perfect it's not realistic. I don't think it would be any fun. If teachers were perfect, our classrooms would be so boring.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, like the whole teach better thing, back in the early days of the team when we were actually the grid method, we used to just use teach better all the time. And our big thing is when we went into work with a teacher or schools and stuff, is Chad would be like, look, you're already doing amazing things. I don't want you to change that. I just want to try and help you and support you to do things that maybe will be just a little bit better. And that was like, that's the key. And I think that's where we always try and drive that. The important piece of that mission is just looking for that. It can be something really, really small or something really, really big, but those little things we can do every day to just be better. And I think that's the important piece. So I'm excited to hear how that goes. You kicking off that event, I think it's a great way to kick off the event, because when you're at a conference or any kind of gathering like that, we have an opportunity to consume a lot of content and have conversations with people. To get in that mindset is really, really important beforehand, so that you can actually take that and utilize it when you go back to your classroom. So
yeah. And cool. Hey, if you're listening and you're going to be at the Ames Network Institute, you better come say hi to me.
Yes, do that.
It'll be fun.
So let's talk really quick about Adam, and I want to get right into this. So our guest today is Adam Renard, and he's actually a 5th grade teacher here in Ohio, down in Southwest Ohio, down by Cincinnati there. But a really cool, he really focused on sort of the gamification / making things fun in his classroom, and he shares a lot of really cool stories about how he has focused on that and where that came from. And then I really love, he shares sort of a story of his realization with one of his colleagues that I'm going to let him tell, because he tells it better. But I really appreciate Adam getting very, I think, vulnerable and real with us and diving in. There's some serious value in this episode that I hope you are listening to and taking notes on mentally. Ray, anything you want people to take away from this?
No, I just think there's so many great stories. You should soak up every moment. Listen to it twice.
All right, let's get into episode 126 with Adam Renard.
Hey everyone, it's Ray. We are about to get right back to the episode, but I wanted to make sure you are a part of our Facebook group. The Teach Better team has a private Facebook group that has grown so much over the past few months, and we continue to do live sessions, answer questions, and have teachers share their lesson plan ideas so we can all collaborate together. Head over to Facebook and search Teach Better Team to request to join, or you can head to teachbettergroup.com and request there. Either way, we'll see you over on Facebook. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, we're here. We're talking with Adam Renard. And Adam, it's so awesome to have you on the podcast. We were fortunate enough to have you out to the Teach Better conference a few weeks ago, and I've heard nothing but awesome things about your sessions there. So excited to now get you on here and just to sort of dive in your brain a little bit more. But before we go too far, man, how you feeling right now?
Oh, great. We are just starting Thanksgiving break, and it's a 5-day stretch. A couple years ago, I gave up on trying to get work done during Thanksgiving. It's just too much going on.
I wish you had given me that tip when I was planning my break, because I saw my Wednesday. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have so much time over Thanksgiving break, and already it's not going to happen. There's no way.
Yeah, it just never does.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, Adam, I had you kind of on my bucket list to meet at the Teach Better conference. So I feel like we have had this like big movement in our friendship where we got to take it to the next level thanks to meeting you a few weeks ago. But I really want to make sure our listeners get connected to you too, because I've actually been following you on Twitter for years, I feel like. And whether we had our funny interaction where we actually found out we weren't actually following each other at the conference, because I think I just kept unfollowing you and following you in hopes that you'd someday notice me on the internet. And I am excited to officially announce to our listeners, we are both following each other, and you should follow Adam as well. So Adam, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a consummate seeker of fun. In my classroom, I'm trying to pull in all of my nerdiness that just comes along with who I am and what I try to do with my kids. Um, I am a proponent of kids going home and they will talk about two things. They will talk about what hurts and what is fun. And those are the stories that they will tell around a dinner table and what they will repeat to people and what we'll get out there in the community about different classroom settings. So, really, for the last few years, probably 7 years, my big goal has just been to take something that is mundane and make it more fun for kids so that we don't have to think about when the kids are going to enjoy something and when we have to be serious, but more like thinking about how exactly everything every day can be something the kids are looking forward to.
I love that. I love the focus on what hurts and what is fun, and trying to bring that in a new world. So I know you listen to the show, so I know you know what we're going to talk about here. So I'm anxious to hear your story here. But can you share a story with us about a time that you've had a failure and a struggle in your life? Kind of take us there with you. Tell us what happened. How did you overcome that? And then what did you take away from that experience?
Well, thinking about my career has been one where I tend to learn the hard way. And unfortunately, the hard way has found me several times. Um, the biggest one I can say for a failure, though, is just not recognizing how my relationship with other people is affected in my classroom setting. My example being a few years ago, I had a great interaction with students, and in April, it starts to get a little feisty. Kids start to get feisty with each other. And so we had this group that I had looped with. They were used to me, I was used to them. And I had a girl and a boy who were just picking at each other all the time. And one day I looked at them, I said, guys, you've got to stop. And I was getting ready to give them whatever our punishment was. And I said to them, just pause. And we went and we wrote a letter of gratitude to someone in our classroom. I don't know if you've ever watched Soul Pancake, but on Soul Pancake, they have the science of happiness. And one of the things they talk about is how gratitude is the greatest signifier and biggest shift maker in happiness. And so I had the kids write a letter to someone in the school who they look forward to seeing every day. And I wrote one to the teaching partner I had in that building that we got separated. And I called her down and I told her the story and I read her the letter, and she's crying and I'm crying. And my kids are just staring at us and just waiting to see what's going to happen. And she walked over and gave me a hug, and I challenged them to give their letter to whoever they wrote it to. And I said, you have to stand there when they're reading it. You don't have to read it to them, but you need to stand there. And they do it, and the kids are all like nervous but excited. And you can tell that they feel good about this. Now, I walk across the hall to my 5th grade teaching partner, and I say, we got to think about this differently. Like, I see where they are. They're frustrated with each other, but we got to do it differently. And I tell her the story of what happened, and she looks at me. And I will never forget this. She said, what is it like to be the one they love? And I was stunned. It was just one of those moments where you feel so small and you have no idea what to say. And before that, as I said, I look at all this, trying to find ways to make my classroom fun. And I never really thought about the sort of repercussions of not bringing other people with you. Not extending that and saying, hey, here's what we're doing. You don't have to do it, but they love it and they're going to love it and it's going to be worth the time. I'll help you. I want you to have my resources. I don't want to keep it to myself and do this and have you doing something completely different over here. And so that failure led to a divide with the one teaching partner I had in that grade level. And that was just a huge moment for me. And I decided on my drive home that day that I was never going to withhold anything and that I was always going to try to bring the people I work with me on the adventure.
What an awesome lesson of just seeing that impact and making the change and deciding that you're going to take them with you and do that, because that's going to, I mean, that's going to be better for kids all around. So I love that. That's really cool. I appreciate you getting kind of deep with us there on that, Adam. So let's flip it now. Let's talk about a successful moment you have. This could be something big or something small, but tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you? And what did you take away from that experience?
A big one for me was we moved to Cincinnati. We lived in Roanoke, Virginia for 12 years, my wife and I, and both of my kids were born there. And it was a great experience. I loved it. But ultimately, we were looking at my parents and my wife's parents getting older. And we needed to be closer so that we could easily take care of them and be involved and really give our kids an opportunity to be involved with their grandparents. And so we made that move. And I got hired in a great school district in Ohio. I was very fortunate, very blessed. And I sat down with my teaching partner who was new and we had never met before. And the first question out of my mind was, what kind of style do you use when you teach? How do you teach? And he started talking to me, and he's 28 years in the business. And he starts talking about reading Michael Matera's Explore Like a Pirate. And this was a huge win for me because 6 months earlier, I had read the book and gotten just enthralled in this idea of connecting two passions that I have. And here I land with the one person that in this school is like reading the same book, wants to do the same thing. And it was amazing. And so I started talking, and we had never met. I was still living in Virginia. And we just sort of hit it off and started building a unit, or I guess not even a unit. We were taking Amplify Science and we were trying to figure out how to work a superhero theme into all of it. And he and I built a website and we built power-up cards. We figured out how to make all of the things that go with the program be introduced by a handler or a person who was working at a headquarters. And we started, and we were like, we have no idea how this is going to go. And the kids just ate it up. And it was just an amazing year, an amazing experience. And we had kids that were doing math homework and science homework. And it wasn't like for a grade, we were just putting it out there as missions. And kids were like creating amazing things like pinhole cameras, trailers that incorporated the science we were talking about. And it was just so awesome and so worth it. And it's something that I have now been moved up to 5th grade. But Tom, my teaching partner, was able to continue it on and is actually doing it with one of the math teachers that I used to work with, who, just all the credit to her. She's in her 33rd year of teaching, has no knowledge of gamification, but has been able to take what he and I were putting together and just run with it. And so that was kind of the sign that that was a success, because not only did we create something that our kids loved, but that other people could use and see the benefit in.
Adam, something I've always enjoyed about your stories here, or even just your presence on social media, is this focus on going above and beyond for students and wanting it to be meaningful. I just think the more educators we can have like you, who make that their mission, that no matter where you are in education, you're trying to create really purposeful experiences for students. I mean, geez, could you imagine how we could like transform education?
Yeah. Oh, it would be so much fun for kids to, I guess, learners to kind of see this. We have a teaching academy at the high schools in our district. And this year I've gotten to work with several of them. And we were just kind of sitting around one day and they're filming like interview questions with me. And I grabbed our custodian. His name is Grant. He is he's one of those custodians you get that you're just like, this guy. This is the guy that we are so happy to have in our building. I knew he and I were going to be friends when one day I was humming the tune to Space Jam and he started singing it and we both started singing it and kids are just staring at us like, what are you two doing? And we're like in the office just like breaking it down. So I called him in when I was sitting in this interview and I said, Grant, I said, you like school? And he goes, it was all right. I had teachers who were good and would pull things in. I said, okay, what's your favorite game? And he goes, oh man, you're asking me to choose between my children here. This is not cool. And ultimately he settled on a game called Final Fantasy VII. And we talked about, I said, what happens in that game? And he goes, well, we get characters and create levels and there's an awesome narrative and you're getting experience points. And as you do that, you're gaining abilities. And I said, well, what if you walked into an English class? And on the first day, they were like, well, here's an outline of a character. What would you look like in like Ready Player One if you could choose what you looked like? And as you found out, as you're going along, the teacher starts to introduce concepts of experience points and growing in the class and giving you abilities like listening to music, or I can wear a hat today, or you get to decide what other teammates' teams are called because you won. And he goes, sign me up. Just sign me up right now. Let's do that. And I was talking to the girls afterwards and I was like, it's really just a matter of thinking about what theme or idea or thing are you pulling in? What makes that itself? And then how can I use that in the classroom? My wife is an English teacher and I've been trying to get her to use the British Baking Show, which she loves. And
the best show ever.
Is she? It is. It's addicting.
It's totally
an addicting show. And you start rooting for people. And I love those people because they're always so willing to help each other out. So I said, well, what ultimately is there? Your 3 challenges. One of them is a technical challenge. And you have to do different things and have a plan coming in. And you're going to be judged with nameless ways there. Like people will be able to see what you did or don't see what you did. And is there a way that you could take like 3 essays or 3 parts of an essay and break it down that way? And I'm watching the wheels turning in her head. And I bless my wife because she looks at me sometimes and is like, I can't talk to you about this because you just go a million miles an hour. And she's like, I just want to love kids and teach them Gatsby. It's encouraging kind of when I see her start to do some of those things too. And it's just a matter of finding what it is you want to base it on and what you really love about it. And how can you pull your content in, because your content is king. It's just taking that layer and how do you see the things you want to do with it in it.
So Adam, with everything that you've been able to accomplish, you've obviously even shared so many stories and pieces of advice now with our listeners. But if you had to pick one element, one piece of advice that you feel like any teacher, no matter where they are in their career, could take and implement tomorrow to build better relationships, be more purposeful with students, kind of all those pieces that we're trying to put together for a progressive classroom mentality, what type of advice do those teachers need?
The one that for me that I really like and was the writer of Edu Protocols, put a beautiful Twitter, like just icon up that said, if it stinks, and he didn't say stinks, I think he said sucks, but if it sucks, I don't teach it. And I agree with that so much, because if I can look at an activity and know that my kids are going to be bored and know that I have to get them excited about it and pull them in and want to learn this information, I have to figure out how to present this information in a way that they love. So I guess if I were giving the advice, I would say, look at every piece of content you have and don't be afraid to absolutely flip the coffee table on that activity and make it look completely different, no matter what weird looks you get, because you're going to get weird looks.
I love it. That's great advice. Don't be afraid to do that, to throw it out,
Yeah.
flip it over, and find what makes sense. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun now, Adam. I know you know this one coming up too, but we're going to do the next 6 questions. Your
Ooh.
goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less. You ready to go?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. What is one ed tech tool you cannot live without?
Pear Deck. Pear Deck is an amazing tool that gives the voiceless a voice, and it allows no one in your classroom to hide, even if it's something where you have to stand in front of them and share information.
And what is a book that you're reading right now?
I am reading Play Like a Pirate. It was on my bucket list of things, and I have that. And I have y'all's book, and I have the educational eye exam all sitting in a row. And I started with Play Like a Pirate just because it's just fun.
Who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today?
Ooh, I've been thinking about this one a little bit. I'm going to go school, local, and just an awesome person. School is a lady named Stacy Reeder, and that's Reeder. And she is an English teacher, and she is amazing. And she's one of those people who pushes me and can push anybody who's willing to talk about it. Locally, there's a woman named Megan Lawson. She considers herself a joyologist. And she's just super positive and super amazing and is worth following, because she's one of those people who sees an opportunity in everything she does. And my last one, and I've got to put this guy over, is Mr. Vaca. It's DOIDLIFE 518. He is a Nintendo fan who is a technologies expert in his schools, and he runs like a Nintendo club and an engineering club through it. It's amazing.
That sounds awesome. Give us a good YouTube channel or website for educators.
I am playing around right now a lot with a website called Gamably, GAMABLY. The guy is trying to make gamification tools that just anybody can use at any point. And he's beta testing it, and he's pushing things out slowly. And it's just amazing. So definitely give it a look, see what you can do with it. My kids have loved it.
Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
Ooh, look at your lessons, find the weakest piece of your lesson, and figure out how you can shift it.
Oh, write that one. And give us the best piece of advice you've ever received.
Ooh, I love this one. Love is a choice. The best piece of advice that I ever got was love is a choice. Just understanding that you're not always going to feel sentimental love in every situation, but in those situations, you have to choose to love them. I believe in this one so much so that at the beginning of every year, I tell my students that for 180 days, I will choose to love you. You won't always like that, but I will choose to love you. And if that friendship continues on, I will know based on you waving at me and wanting to talk. But if I wave at you and you give me that look and just kind of glance off, I'll know it's over. No hard feelings. I promise you 180 days, though.
I like that. What do you think, Ray?
Oh, man. Trophy done. Adam, I really want to make sure our listeners connect with you, because I know you continue to share all these stories and amazing educational insight on your Twitter and every other social media platform that you're connected on. So would you mind kind of letting people know how they can stay connected with you?
Sure. I am on Twitter at Renard, Renard _teach. Instagram, I haven't really gotten into. I know it's there. I don't have enough RAM memory to do it. And then I have a blog. It's Renard's Quest at blogspot.com. But I get to it when I can, so it's not a regular one.
So best bet is Twitter, right?
Yes, totally.
And, you can find all the links and everything, all the resources and everything we've talked about in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as those links to make sure you can get connected with Adam and keep this conversation going. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and review, we'd really appreciate that as well. And I'm going to ask you to keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues that need to hear these amazing stories. Share this with them. Adam, man, this was awesome. I'm so happy that we were able to get you on. It was great actually getting to meet you at the conference and have you out. So be able to sort of dive into your brain a little deeper here was great. Really appreciate you and just appreciate everything you're doing, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
And until next time, let's get out there and let's teach better.